My social media account had been hacked. I found out about the hack from my best friend, who called me in a panic. The scammer had already conned several of my friends, pretending to be me and asking for money. I scrambled to regain control of my account, determined to stop any more damage from happening. After a few frantic minutes, I finally managed to log back into my long-dormant WhatsApp. The moment I opened it, I was hit with an avalanche of messages. I scrolled through them, noting down the money people had lost, mentally preparing to involve the police if necessary. But then, out of the corner of my eye, one contact name stood out like a flashing neon sign. My baby. Even though I hadn't used the account in ages, I knew immediately who that name belonged to. Mike. Now a scorching hot movie star. He'd just won Best Actor for his latest blockbuster hit. He was on a rocket to fame, and the entire country was talking about him. I swallowed, took a steadying breath, and clicked on the chat. The screen was empty, save for one message: "Baby, what are you doing?" My eyes went wide. I could hardly believe it. My account had actually sent him that message. Damn that hacker. Of all the people to scam, why did it have to be Mike? How was I supposed to recover from this? I stared at that message: "Baby, what are you doing?" feeling my heart sink as I tried to steady myself. Mike and I had been classmates back in high school, which is how he was even in my contacts. But after all these years, he definitely wouldn't remember me. Besides, I'd heard that once celebrities make it big, they clear out all their old accounts to avoid any potential black marks. He probably hadn't checked this account in ages. And he was a superstar now, barely even able to sleep with his packed schedule. He'd never even see this message, right? Just as I was trying to convince myself, my best friend called again. Check the trending news now. I tapped on the trending tab. The #1 topic was, #Mike secretly married, #. My heart sank. Nervously, I clicked on the hashtag, only to be greeted by the words "Baby, what are you doing?" magnified in every single comment. It turned out that when the hacker sent that message from my account, Mike had been live streaming. The livestream recording showed that Mike, as part of a host challenge, had to contact an old friend to borrow money. With his assistant's help, he logged into his long and used WhatsApp account. The moment his phone screen connected to the live feed, "Baby, what are you doing?" dominated the screen. In that split second, I caught a glimpse of the contact name Mike had saved for me, 57. Just 57. I didn't know what it meant, but I assumed he just numbered his acquaintances, an efficient way to handle distant contacts. The message from 57 reading, "Baby, what are you doing?" set off a firestorm in the chat. Even though his assistant quickly cut the connection between his phone and the livestream, enthusiastic fans had already recorded the moment and posted it on social media. Overnight, rumors of Mike's secret marriage took over the internet. I buried my face in my arms, my mind racing with only 3 words: "This is bad." I had no idea how to handle this. No idea what I could do. It was beyond anything I could wrap my head around. The scamming was one thing, but damaging Mike's reputation was a much bigger issue. Even though I'm not in the entertainment industry, I could guess just how badly this could affect him. It could ruin his entire career. He might hate me forever for pulling him into this mess, even if it was completely unintentional. Just as I was spiraling deeper into my panic, a notification chimed on my long silent WhatsApp. I looked up. There it was, at the top of my screen, from my baby. "My baby, can we talk?" The person who messaged me was Mike's agent. She wanted to discuss a solution and thought it would be best to talk face to face, so I gave her my address without a second thought. An hour later, the doorbell rang. I opened the door, unable to lift my head, and apologized softly. "I'm so sorry. This is all my fault. My account was hacked, and the scammer used it to ask my friends for money. I never thought something like this would happen. I'm so sorry." My voice trailed off, and my eyes stung with tears, overwhelmed by guilt and frustration. A warm voice comforted me. It's all right. A gentle hand patted my head, and I lifted my gaze to meet a beautiful, kind face. Next to her was a tall figure in a mask and sunglasses, but his striking presence was unmistakable. I froze. Mike? He gave a slight nod. My heart began to pound uncontrollably, thrumming wildly in my chest. They had come with a team of 5 people, instantly making my small living room feel cramped. I perched nervously on my own couch, barely able to sit still. I stammered, I hadn't used that account in ages. It had login risks. Which is how the hacker got in. With sincere resolve, I added, this is entirely my fault. Whatever you need me to do to make it right, I'll cooperate fully. I'll do my best to fix this. His agent, Lucy, gave me a reassuring smile. Don't worry. We're here to see if you might be open to an idea. She paused, then said, would you be willing to pretend to date Mike for a little while? I stared at her, sure I had misheard. She teased. Since you saved his contact as baby, you must have a bit of a thing for him, right? So why not give it a try? Free trial husband. Discussing this in front of him was mortifying. I rushed to explain, that was, all from years ago. I snuck a glance at Mike, who still hadn't said a word, and added, besides, I haven't used that account in forever. If I had, I would have changed it. Don't worry, she laughed. We'll compensate you. The only condition is that you must keep this whole fake dating arrangement a secret. My head was spinning, and I was starting to see stars. Somehow, in a split second, everything had shifted. I'd thought I was doomed, yet now things were moving in a direction I'd never even dared to imagine. We already have the contract prepared, she said, holding my gaze. If you're open to this, we can sign right now. At her cue, an assistant pulled 2 copies of a contract from her bag. I swallowed hard, feeling my heart race. Hesitantly, I looked at Mike, who still hadn't spoken a word. Not knowing why, I asked, Are you okay with this? He was still wearing his mask, stray locks of hair falling over his forehead, leaving only his mesmerizing eyes visible. Those eyes were looking right at me, pulling me in. My heart pounded even harder. In that smooth, familiar voice, he spoke to me for the first time in years. I'm okay with it. I signed my name on the contract without hesitation. There was no reason to say no. Getting paid to date the guy I'd secretly admired for 10 years? It felt like a dream come true. The assistant took down my phone number, bank details, and other information, while Lucy pulled out her phone. Let's add each other's contacts. We're partners now. I exchanged contact info with everyone in the room, including Mike. Under his watchful gaze, I typed in his name as just Mike. Oh, by the way, Lucy added, do you need any help dealing with the hacking issue? This is Jay, our lawyer, if there's anything you need. He's here for support. I quickly shook my head. I can handle it on my own. The initial payment just went through, the assistant reported. Perfect, Lucy replied, turning to me. In that case, we'll be on our way. Please check your account, it's a deposit. Moving forward, we'll transfer monthly installments to you. Pleasure working with you. She extended her hand. I took it, replying, pleasure working with you, too. I shook hands with everyone, following them to the door. Mike was the last to leave, and as he stepped out, he suddenly paused, turning back to look at me. Trinity, he said. Yes? My heart fluttered at the way he said my name. Pleasure working with you. His voice was smooth and rich. Maybe it was the effect of his gaze, but instead of the usual response, I said, I think it's going to be a very pleasant collaboration. His eyes crinkled with a hint of a smile, before he turned and left. I closed the door, still floating on cloud 9. It took me a while to come back to my senses. Finally, I returned to my coffee table to deal with the hacking mess. Checking my phone, I saw that my bank balance had gone up by 100,000. My eyes widened. I refreshed the app a few times. But it still showed 100,000. I could hardly think straight. Was this some kind of jackpot? Why were so many good things suddenly happening to me? After a long pause to process everything, I finally calmed down and got back to calculating the losses from the hacking. 7 friends had sent money people I used to be close with but hadn't stayed in touch with. Because they didn't know my recent circumstances. They'd trusted the scammer story. The total came to about 10,000, which I quickly transferred back to each of them. Some friends insisted on refusing the money, while others asked curiously about Mike. I ignored those questions. Sinking into my couch, I let out a long breath. Finally, everything was taken care of. I was just closing my eyes to rest when my best friend called for the 3rd time that day. "Babe. You and Mike just went public." I opened social media to check Mike's profile. His page, typically filled with advertisements and updates about his latest projects, now had a new post pinned at the top. "Mike, yes, she's my girlfriend. Please, no more speculations." My heart started pounding. I was at the center of this, yet I felt strangely detached, as if I were watching it happen to someone else. Curious about the reactions. I scrolled through the comments. "OMG, how could you? I've messaged you so many times, called you hubby, and you never once admitted I was your girlfriend. This feels staged. Didn't he say he hadn't used that account in ages? And somehow this message pops up during a live broadcast? Smells like a publicity stunt for his new movie. Wait for the twist. I don't get it. Why acknowledge this now? He's never confirmed any of his dating rumors with other actresses." I paused on that last comment, intrigued, and clicked to see the replies. This time it must be real. Ugh, my ship just sank. Mike and Rose were perfect together. After scrolling a bit more, I closed the app, amused at the theories people had spun. My best friend, however, sounded baffled. "Explain. How did you end up as Mike's girlfriend? Have you secretly been dating him behind my back?" I lowered my voice. "We signed a contract. If I tell you more, I'd be breaking it." She guessed instantly. "So it's fake dating? How very Hollywood." "What? Look at his nickname for you. Clearly, he has a crush on you, too." I was startled. "You've got quite the imagination." I'd had a crush on Mike since our first year in high school. Watching him go from our campus heartthrob to a household name. If the campus heartthrob had been a distant fantasy, the superstar was a star I couldn't even dream of reaching. So, I kept my feelings buried, never daring to voice them. It was a hopeless dream, after all. But my friend was certain. "You'll see." I blinked at her, suspicious. She abruptly changed topics. "So, what's the plan with the hacking situation?" "I returned the money. And I won't report it. If they catch the scammer, everything might unravel." "Fair enough." She returned to her original question, "But tell me, what's it like to be Mike's girlfriend?" I stammered, "I'm not his girlfriend." "Stop denying it. You are his girlfriend." She leaned in, mock serious. "The universe is practically begging you to go for it. Fate's handed you the opportunity. If you let this slip, I might actually lose respect for you." "But I..." She interrupted, "You're amazing, and you're absolutely his equal. Trust me. You're the best girl in the world." I took a deep breath, feeling a spark of confidence. "You know what? You're right." Our first task as a pretend couple was a casual, caught-in-the-act photo op in the underground parking garage at Mike's place. With rumors swirling since the announcement, including some speculative analyses from PR pros. Lucy thought the best way to quash the talk was to provide evidence. She'd tipped off a few paparazzi, and all Mike and I had to do was act like a couple deeply in love, caught in a few naturally affectionate moments. That day, Mike came to pick me up from my place. He wore a black baseball cap, a plain white t-shirt. and light jeans, an effortlessly classy look that made even the simplest outfit seem like high fashion on him. I tugged at my casual t-shirt dress. "Is this all right?" Lucy had advised me to dress low-key, nothing flashy. Mike's gaze rested on me for a few seconds before he replied, "It's perfect." I bit my lip to hide a smile and followed him to the car. As we sped toward his apartment, my nerves built up until we arrived at the garage, where they surged into full-blown anxiety. I felt almost too shaky to step out. Sensing it, Mike gently placed his warm hand on mine. "You're just a friend visiting my place," he reassured me. "Nothing more." I nodded firmly. Stepping out of the car, I waited by the side as he grabbed a few grocery bags from the trunk props, meant to make the photos look as real as possible. Mike walked over, carrying the bags effortlessly. But he stopped to glance at me with a small sigh. "Why didn't you at least wear a mask?" Without another word, he took off his cap and placed it over my head. I froze as his scent and warmth enveloped me, leaving me slightly lightheaded. He took my hand, murmuring, "I used the mask already, so I won't give you that." Before I knew it, we were walking together, hand in hand. And I had to remind myself to breathe. I could see why he'd won so many acting awards. He was already playing the part to perfection. How his co-stars kept from swooning, I couldn't imagine. In just minutes, he'd made me practically combust. Suddenly, he stopped, setting down the grocery bags and kneeling in front of me. I looked down, startled, as he reached for my loosened shoelace, bending his head to retie it. The quiet of the garage seemed to amplify everything, as if I could hear the rapid clicks of the paparazzi's cameras in the shadows. A perfectly timed loose shoelace. Once he'd finished, Mike straightened up, gave me a warm smile, and teased, just like a little kid, "Good thing you didn't trip." I pressed a hand over my thundering heart, trying to stay composed. Eventually, we reached his place, where he stowed the groceries and said he'd make us dinner. I realized he was likely trying to keep up appearances. If I left as soon as I arrived, it would look suspicious. So, a full evening made more sense. Watching him cook was a different kind of show. Focused, relaxed, and a bit playful, he was magnetic. I found myself wondering if I could ever get over this, if, after knowing him like this, I'd ever stop feeling this way. Deciding to take my friend's advice and go for it, I asked, "Do you have a girlfriend?" "No," he replied. Then, after a pause, he added, "But I do have someone I like." Instantly, the little flame of hope in my chest dimmed, leaving me with a bittersweet ache. Dinner passed in a mix of emotions until he took a call. Then returned with some news that was neither good nor bad. "There's another media crew outside. It might be best if you stayed the night." I understood at once. If I left now, this already scrutinized relationship would hit another level of gossip, especially if I was seen leaving at such an odd hour. In a new relationship, would we really not spend the night together? He added, "You don't have to stay if it makes you uncomfortable." But I looked up, my heart steadier this time, and said with conviction, "I'll stay." Mike's place was huge, with plenty of guest rooms. Staying in one of them was practically no different from being in my own bed, at least, that's what I tried to tell myself. But I couldn't stop my thoughts from wandering, especially as I watched Mike, my longtime crush, moving around to make sure I was comfortable. "Here are some slippers. They might be a bit big. The toiletries are all new, so feel free to use whatever you need. And if there's anything else you need, just let me know." He paused, and a faint blush rose on his cheeks. "For clothes, if you tell me your size, I can have some sent over." By the time he finished speaking, his ears were noticeably red. His embarrassment was contagious. And I felt a little flustered too. "Or," he added, "you could message Lucy, and she can arrange it." "All right," I replied, nodding. After showering, it still seemed too early to head straight to bed, so we ended up in his living room, curled up on the sofa, watching TV together. Mike's living room featured a full wall of floor-to-ceiling windows, and with the curtains open, the nighttime cityscape stretched before us. I thought of all those stories about celebrities caught in romantic entanglements by careless windows. Should we maybe close the curtains? I asked. He hesitated but eventually nodded. The automatic blind slid shut, and the sudden coziness of the enclosed space hit me. It was just the two of us, surrounded by silence. The mood shifted almost palpably, clearing my throat. I tried to dispel the tension. Let's watch a movie. Good idea. We settled on a coming-of-age romance film, one that Mike had starred in with Rose, the actress fans had paired him with after their on-screen chemistry. The movie unfolded with scenes of a bright-eyed girl confessing her feelings to a brooding, cool boy, a kind of boldness I could only dream of having. Feeling a bit wistful, I commented, "You and she really make a good match." "Do we?" he asked, glancing at me. "Yeah," I replied, shrugging. "Lots of people ship you too. I saw this movie and almost became a fan of you guys myself." "So why didn't you?" "Because I liked you," I thought, but didn't dare to say out loud. Mike looked at me with an intensity that made my heart race. "Trinity, you liked me once, didn't you?" I couldn't bring myself to respond. He continued, "If not, then why don't you explain why your contact name for me was Baby?" I tightened my grip on a throw pillow. "I don't think I need to explain that," I muttered, feeling cornered. Anyway, that was in the past. "I don't like you now." "Oh, really?" he said, an amused glint in his eye. "Though, I always thought you liked Daniel back then." I froze. He added, "In high school, I heard you say you liked him." "What? No way." I protested. "I was right there. You were walking with a friend, and she asked if you liked me. And you told her, 'No, I like Daniel.'" The memory rushed back vividly. The girl was Rebecca, a confident and beautiful classmate who boldly declared her intention to pursue Mike, certain she would win him over. She must have noticed my crush on him, because one day after school, she'd stopped me and bluntly asked if I had feelings for Mike. And Mike had been nearby. Under her sharp gaze, and his eye panicked. "No, I don't like him. I like Daniel," I'd said without thinking. A pang of regret hit me as I looked back on that moment, realizing how my own insecurity had held me back. "You didn't like Daniel, did you?" Mike's voice pulled me back to the present. I didn't know how to respond. Denying it now made my words back then seem hollow. And all those coincidences, like ending up at the same college as him and even the same graduate program, those were just coincidences, right? He pressed on. Before I could respond, he added, "You never actually liked him." Startled, I looked up. "How do you know we went to the same school?" "Aside from a few close friends, nobody knew where I went to graduate school, especially not that I was at the same school as Daniel. It wasn't the kind of information you'd easily find out without digging." Mike fell silent, and something in his gaze seemed to shift, as though he'd come to a decision. His eyes brightened suddenly. "Actually, I've always—" His words were cut off by a shrill ringtone. My phone, resting on the couch, lit up with an incoming call from Daniel. Mike glanced at the screen, his expression dimming almost imperceptibly. "I'll take this," I said, feeling a little awkward under his gaze as I moved to the window. On the other end, Daniel's voice came through. "Did you get hacked?" "Yes." "Is everything all right now?" "Yes, it's fine." He paused, then added, "So that post Mike put up, was that the hackers doing? Did you call for something specific?" I replied, deflecting. Back in my second year of grad school, Daniel had asked me to be his girlfriend. We'd only had a few casual meals together on campus, so I'd been taken aback that he'd developed feelings for me so suddenly. I assumed he just wanted to date someone and didn't particularly care who. I turned him down. After that, he never made another move, and while we stayed friends, I'd subtly kept my distance. Now, he rambled on about something, but I barely registered his words. My attention kept drifting back to Mike, who sat on the couch with his head slightly lowered, his form cast in a shadow that made him look almost desolate. Why does he look like that? I wondered. Daniel's voice pulled me back. You and Mike aren't actually together, right? I felt a surge of exhaustion, pressing my fingers to my temples to ease the tension and almost ready to hang up. Then, Mike stood up abruptly. He strode over with a kind of quiet intensity, and before I fully grasped what he was doing, he reached out, took my phone from my hand, and hung up the call without a word. I stared at him in shock, caught off guard by his boldness. His eyes shone with that fierce, resolute light again. Don't answer his calls anymore, he said. Why not? The question slipped out instinctively. Because I'll get jealous. I blinked. Speechless. He held my gaze and continued, I like you. My heart stopped. When you liked Daniel, I was there, liking you all along. Maybe I was truly in shock, because he chuckled in a resigned way. I thought you would have guessed when you saw the note. He added, I've seen a lot of fans make the connection. Suddenly, memories of comments I had seen before flashed through my mind. 57 was my birthday, May 7th. Oh my God. How could I have thought that? He explained, I've kept your birthday in my heart. When I see those two numbers, it's like seeing you. That's what my note meant. He continued, I've always wanted to muster the courage to reach out to you, even when I thought you still liked Daniel. I pressed my lips together tightly, staring at him in a daze, doubting everything I was hearing. Trinity, I've liked you for almost 10 years. He said slowly. When I saw your message, my hands were shaking so badly I had to hide them under the table. Luckily, the live stream ended in time, otherwise, I wouldn't have known how to pretend everything was normal. Then I found out it was just a hacker, not you sending me that message. He let out a rueful laugh. But I also have to thank that scammer. Otherwise, I wouldn't have dared to contact you. I'd just be left wondering whether you and Daniel were actually together. Please don't like Daniel anymore, okay? He pleaded. Is he really that great? Is he worth all this time you've spent liking him? Don't you feel exhausted? He paused for a long moment before carefully asking, since my note used to say baby, does that mean you had a brief crush on me? Even if it was, like a fan's kind of liking? Does that mean I have a chance to win you over? His voice was gentle, yet there was a vulnerability in it that struck me. Why would someone like him feel so small for me? A wave of indescribable sadness washed over me. I wanted to cry, and I truly did. Tears streamed down my cheeks as I opened my mouth, wanting to tell him that I had never liked Daniel, that I had always liked him. But it felt like something was choking me. And I couldn't find the words. My mouth opened and closed, but I could only sob, unable to form a complete thought. The more I tried, the more tangled I became. Mike's heart ached at the sight of me. He pulled me into his arms, gently patting my back and soothing me. It's okay, it's okay. If you don't like him, then don't cry. There's no need for that. He said, if you don't like me, then I'm the one who should be crying. He tried to lighten the mood, but I couldn't find it in me to smile. I still wanted to cry. I suddenly resented my own cowardice. Why hadn't I been brave enough to say how I felt back then? Why had I wasted so many years? What did those lost years mean? If I had just acknowledged my feelings for him back then, the outcome surely wouldn't have been like this. I cried in his embrace for what felt like an eternity, gasping for breath between sobs. Finally, my emotions began to settle. I noticed that Mike's shirt had been dampened by my tears. He flicked my forehead lightly and said, "You've given me a nice shower with your tears." Mike stood up to get me a glass of water. I remained in place, taking deep breaths, steadying myself. When he handed me the water, I finally found the courage to say it completely and honestly. I only like you. Now it was Mike's turn to be stunned. I drank half the glass of water, then calmly stated, "I've always liked you, just like you do." "What about Daniel?" He started, but I cut him off. The person I like has never been Daniel. I said. I'm sorry, I was too cowardly back then. So many beautiful and talented girls were chasing after Mike. What right did I have to say anything? I couldn't even admit my feelings. I hid my emotions, watching him rise to stardom, becoming the idol of countless girls. I wanted him to become even better. But I also understood that the better he got, the larger the gap between us would be. It seemed impossible for us to ever be together. So why should I even confess my feelings? Mike still looked bewildered. It was rare to see such an expression on his face. He was usually graceful and composed, as if he could handle any problem that came his way. But now, there was a hint of youthful innocence in his confusion. I said seriously, I really like you. I'm not lying. He remained silent for a long time before finally letting out a sigh. I knew you weren't that blind. Choosing to like Daniel instead of someone like me. I couldn't help but laugh. We embraced each other on the sofa, talking about the years we had missed. I concluded, I have to thank the scammer, otherwise, I wouldn't have known when I could finally say all this. He replied, no way, I'm already planning to pursue you at next month's class reunion. Even if I still like Daniel? He nodded earnestly. Even if you still like Daniel. The unattainable idol had suddenly become my deeply loving boyfriend, and I was working hard to adjust to this extreme contrast. I asked him, did you deliberately arrange the fake couple thing? He was silent for a moment, then I continued, it seems like when celebrities get caught up in rumors, they usually choose to clarify things, but you just went ahead and admitted it. He chuckled softly. You already guessed why ask? I just wanted to hear him say he liked me, that he cared about me, to make it feel more real. Mike wrapped his arms around me from behind, burying his head in my neck and murmured, I want you to be my girlfriend, even if it's just pretend. I stifled a laugh, feeling incredibly satisfied. Curious, I asked, how did Lucy allow you to do this? There were 5 people that day: agent, assistant, lawyer. It was quite the production. He replied, over the years, I've had rumors with some actresses. Even if nothing happened between us, Lucy thinks that it's better for my reputation to officially announce a girlfriend rather than let people speculate. I nodded, understanding. The entertainment industry was far too complex for me to fully grasp. I nestled quietly in his arms when he suddenly made a request. Say you like me again. You're asking for the 3rd time tonight, I replied. I still can't quite believe it, he said. Just say it one more time to reassure me. I like you. He pressed a kiss to the corner of my mouth and softly said, I like you too. By the time I left Mike's house the next day, it was already 3 in the afternoon. We really hadn't done anything. We just talked late into the night and got caught up in our feelings for each other. Which took up all our time. By the time we woke up, had brunch, and got to this point, it was already late. Mike drove me home. Even though we hadn't done anything, the photos of us that the paparazzi had snapped caused quite a stir online. The narrative was that I had spent the night at his villa, I had changed clothes, and there were suspicious red marks on my neck. All of this was magnified into supposed evidence of our passionate romance. I looked in the mirror at the mosquito bite on my neck and felt like crying. If I had known it would itch so much last night, I wouldn't have scratched it. My best friend, seeing the photos online, even came over to check on this so-called hickey. I showed her my neck, feeling wronged as I protested, it's really just a mosquito bite. She snorted, the hickey is fake. But the fact that you spent the night at his place is very real, isn't it? I felt a bit shy and admitted, yeah, turns out he has always liked me. My friend was taken aback, then why didn't he confess? He thought I liked Daniel. I explained the twists and turns of our situation to her, and she rolled her eyes dramatically, I can't deal with you too. I chuckled and hugged her, thank goodness I have you. Thank goodness for the scammer. She suddenly exclaimed, her eyes lighting up. If it weren't for the hacker stealing your account, you and Mike would still be in this secret crush phase. She continued, what if the hack was also his doing? I replied skeptically, no way, he doesn't seem like the type to pull something like that. How does he not? She challenged. Look at how he even staged the fake couple situation. I remained doubtful. But it didn't take long for it to become clear that Mike had nothing to do with it. The scammer who had stolen my account actually added me on WhatsApp. Scammer, I saved all your chat records. Scammer, everyone is so curious about you right now. If I share the messages with the press, I could make a fortune. Scammer, if you're smart, you'd better pay me quickly. I'm sure you don't want these messages to leak online, do you? He wouldn't dare. That was Mike's first reaction after I told him everything. He had already contacted a lawyer and reassured me, saying, the reason he hasn't gone public is that he knows the hacking and scamming are illegal. If he shares anything online, he'd get caught, so he's resorting to extortion. Just wait, he added. He'll face multiple charges. Mike's team was strong, and soon enough, we received good news. The scammer had been detained. The money he had initially swindled from my classmates was returned to me in full. I felt an unexpected surge of emotion. Mike looked puzzled. I give you 100,000, and you're not moved at all, but this 1,000 makes you feel something? I explained. You don't understand. This is a month's worth of hard work for me. Just graduated from my master's program, I earned barely that much in a month. To get it back felt incredibly meaningful. Then I had a sudden thought, will the payment for pretending to be your girlfriend still be deposited into my account every month? He replied, you're my real girlfriend now. Oh, right, I said, realizing that having Mike was far more important than any money. He pulled me close, laughing, being my girlfriend is worth much more than that fake girlfriend fee. Do you really look that disappointed? I planted a kiss on his cheek, thinking that was more like it. Before I knew it, it was time for the class reunion we had agreed on. Once news broke that Mike would be attending, the number of participants kept increasing. And the venue was changed multiple times. Eventually, the final location was set at a resort in the suburbs. That day was sunny and bright. As Mike drove us to the resort, I sat in the passenger seat, feeling nervous about what awaited us. Mike teased me, you're anxious about faking affection, but why are you also nervous about being genuine? Everyone's going to wonder why you would want to be with me. Is that strange? He asked. I've wanted to be with you for 10 years. Suddenly, I was curious. How did you come to like me? Our paths in youth hardly crossed. He was in the spotlight while I was quietly in the background. How could he have noticed me? I forgot, he replied. I wasn't satisfied. That sounds like you remember. He said, I really don't remember when I started paying attention to you, or why my gaze always seems to gravitate toward you. He continued. One day, you turned around to talk to another guy. You were having a great time, and then you glanced at me and smiled. That's when I thought, I must like you. I was completely taken aback by this revelation. I couldn't recall any such moment he described. He added with a hint of jealousy, you smiled at that guy way more beautifully than you ever did at me. I don't even remember who he is. I do. He said. I'll point him out to you later. I had seriously underestimated this man's competitive nature. When we arrived at the reunion venue, Mike quickly identified the guy for me. That guy was sitting right behind you. I pursed my lips. He added, coincidentally, he's chatting with Daniel right now. Come on. Let's go over. There was no doubt that Mike was the star of this reunion. All the attention directed at him inevitably fell on me as well. The gazes around us were filled with curiosity, surprise, and envy, but none held the disdain I had feared. It felt as if we were always meant to be together. Standing by his side, accepting the teasing and blessings from everyone, I gradually began to feel at ease. The nervousness I had arrived with fading away. After enjoying a sumptuous meal, while Mike continued chatting with his classmates, I gently squeezed his hand and whispered, I'm going to the restroom. Okay, he replied, letting go of my hand. The restroom was empty. As I finished washing my hands and stepped out, I spotted a tall, stunning woman waiting by the sink. Rebecca. My heart raced inexplicably. But I tried to act calm as I approached her. She suddenly said, "I want to apologize to you." "For what?" I asked, confused. "For asking you in front of Mike whether you liked him." "That was intentional." I paused, taken aback. "Because I knew you wouldn't admit it," she continued with a smirk. "Back then, you probably felt you weren't good enough for him, right?" A chill ran down my spine. "Why would you do that?" "Because I like him too." I wanted to ask why she singled me out, but she answered before I could speak. "I saw him slipping chocolates into your drawer in the empty classroom during gym class." I opened my mouth, but no words came out. "My methods were despicable, so I'm sorry," she said, her tone turning sincere. I didn't know what else to say. Yes, she was wrong, but the root of the problem was my own cowardice. "You and he are a good match," she stated. "Now that he's a big star, being his girlfriend will attract a lot of scrutiny. Don't doubt yourself like you did in the past. I wish you both happiness." I began to understand why she felt the need to say this to me today. Since the exposure of Mike and my photos together, there had been some dissonant voices online. They insinuated that I was too ordinary to match someone as brilliant as Mike. I felt powerless to refute that. Deep down, I agreed with them. My insecurities were gnawing at me once again. I tried to shake off those feelings and not let them consume me, but they still lingered. Now I realized that despite my previous retreat, I could not back down again about my feelings for Mike. As I walked back to the main hall, I forced myself to appear nonchalant. Mike caught my eye, sensing something was off, and led me back to our room. He helped me sit on the sofa, kneeling beside me, his expression filled with concern as he asked softly, "What's wrong?" I shook my head, not wanting to explain. He looked at me intently, and my mind drifted to the years he spent liking me while mistakenly believing I was into someone else. I murmured, "Isn't having a secret crush painful?" He didn't respond. I continued, "Let's promise we'll never be apart again, okay?" He nodded. "But you have to tell me what really happened." "It's nothing, really," I reassured him. Looking into his worried eyes, I made a promise, "No matter what happens, I'll be brave and love you from now on." "You don't need to be brave," he replied. "Loving me is enough." He wrapped me in his arms, his promise heavier than mine, "I will always keep you safe." He pressed a gentle kiss on my forehead. And warmth radiated through the room. Extra story: recently, rumors have surfaced online claiming that Mike and I have broken up. Since our relationship was exposed, there have been countless rumors about our supposed split. In contrast, some have speculated that we've actually gotten married. Despite the fact that we've been quietly dating without flaunting our relationship. The imagination of netizens knows no bounds. We've been said to break up and get back together countless times. This latest breakup rumor took on a life of its own, sparked by a single photo. In the image, the background was blurred, but it clearly showed Mike and Rose close together, exchanging looks that suggested a hint of flirtation. The implication was that Mike had dumped me and was now involved with Rose. In response, Mike explained to me that it was a promotional photo for a movie, intended to recreate a specific scene, and it had been snapped by a fan. I understood and accepted his explanation graciously. However, Mike didn't seem pleased. He pulled me into his embrace and murmured, "Aren't you worried about me?" "How could I not be?" "I care about you," I replied earnestly. "Then why aren't you showing any reaction?" After being with Mike for so long, I had started to understand his temperament, so I teasingly said, "How could I dare to react? Just being with you is enough for me. A man who comes home is a good man." His expression darkened at my words. I laughed, adding, "Okay, I was just kidding." But he looked serious, saying, "You can't think like that, you know?" I nodded vigorously. He continued, Don't listen to what others say. There's no such thing as being undeserving. You are the best in the world. Mike knew how deeply rooted my insecurities were, and he always worked to rescue me from my self-doubt. Suddenly, I felt a pang of regret for teasing him earlier, and I replied earnestly, I really understand. I won't back down anymore. That's good to hear. He flashed a triumphant smile and added, but you also don't have the chance to back down now. That day, Mike responded to the breakup rumors by posting our wedding photo on his social media account. This was his second public display of affection, and he captioned it, "Now, she truly is my 57. In my second year at work, the company assigned me 2 interns. The young women were eager to learn, cheerful, and bright. And we all enjoyed each other's company while I guided them. We often met up for meals and shopping outings. One day, as we passed by the cinema, they suggested we watch a movie. I glanced at the huge poster for Mike's latest film hanging on the wall and nodded silently in agreement. Even though I was married to Mike, I could still keep a low profile among the public. Thanks to his discreetness during our dating period. The photos circulating online of me were still just a few from when our relationship was first revealed. In those images, I was either wearing a hat or the focus was on a mosquito bite on my neck, making it difficult for anyone to recognize me as a specific person. People knew that Mike had a wife outside the entertainment industry. But they had no idea who she was. Though many criticized my ordinariness, I had learned to accept it with calm. As the familiar prelude music of the movie began to play, I focused intently on the film. 2 hours flew by in no time. After the movie, while we were having dinner, my interns were still gushing, "Mike is so handsome. I envy his wife, she must be so happy getting to see that face every day." While I didn't get to see him every day, I was indeed very happy. I nodded in agreement, "Yeah, he really is." Just as I was about to join in their conversation about Mike's looks, my phone on the table lit up with an incoming call. The screen showed Baby. My heart raced as I glanced at the girls, then picked up the phone. "Hello? Baby, where are you?" Mike's voice was deep and slightly raspy, as if he had just woken up, sending a thrill through me. "I'm at the Miller Mall." I replied softly. "I'll come pick you up," he said. I quickly protested, "No, it's fine." He had been so busy lately, flying around the country with no time to rest. I wanted him to take a break. But he insisted, "Seeing you is my rest." A warm feeling spread through me. Knowing Mike was on his way made me a little giddy, and my interns noticed something was off with me. "I have to leave soon," I told them. "It's all right. It's getting late." "We should head home too," they replied. We all made our way down to the parking lot together. I was busy searching for Mike's car when I heard one of the girls gasp softly. I looked up to see a figure quickly ducking into a car. "That looks like Mike," one girl said. "I'm not sure. Let's check a bit closer," the other replied. The figure had all but disappeared from sight. A strange pang of sympathy hit me. Mike had mentioned wanting to meet my colleagues, envying those whose partners attended company events with them. He wanted to stand beside me and be introduced as my husband. But I had hesitated to agree, fearing the implications of his fame. At that moment, I wanted nothing more than to do just that. Feeling a rush of affection, I walked up to the car, pulled open the door, and took Mike's hand, pulling him out while he looked utterly surprised. My intern stood there, wide-eyed and speechless. Feeling a bit shy, I introduced him with a smile. "Sorry for hiding this for so long, it wasn't intentional. This is my husband." Mike waved, "Hi, nice to meet you." I could still feel the excitement radiating from the 2 girls as we said our goodbyes. As we drove away, Mike asked, "What made you decide to introduce me to them?" "I just didn't want to hide anymore," I confessed. "Good," he replied, clearly pleased. I then asked, "Did your custom suit for the company gala arrive yet?" "Yeah, why?" "I thought it might be fitting for the company annual meeting." "Whose suit are we talking about, mine or yours?" I caught the sly grin on his face and answered earnestly, "Of course, it's mine." He chuckled, "Well, that makes it even more fitting. I'm pregnant." Looking back on the few months of my carefree life, I felt a mix of despair and disbelief. Mike had just finished filming a project, and with several months of free time, he had been home with me. We were in that sweet newlywed phase where we couldn't help but be close to each other. But sometimes, when feelings ran high, we forgot about the things that were important during this time. And so, I hit the jackpot. The report showed I was 2 months along. Who would have thought that a simple trip to the hospital for dizziness and nausea would reveal a child? I sighed heavily, grappling with how to tell Mike about this. He was off filming again, and I had no idea how long it would take this time. I knew I had to tell him about the pregnancy as soon as possible. I didn't want him to come back after filming, only to find that the baby had grown. That wouldn't make any sense. To avoid disrupting his filming schedule, I decided to visit him on set. When I arrived at the airport on the first flight, my agent Lucy was already there. "Did you tell him I was coming?" I asked. "Not yet," she replied with a sly smile. "I know you want to surprise him, so I wouldn't dare spoil it." I pursed my lips. It wasn't really meant to be a surprise. Under Lucy's guidance, we made our way to the filming location without any issues. Timing was perfect. Mike was just starting a scene. Lucy led me to the best spot for watching, and as I looked, I was taken aback to see it was a kissing scene. The director was explaining the scene to the actress, while Mike stood nearby, looking every bit the charming prince, handsome from every angle. Worried that I might get jealous, Lucy explained. "There's only this one kiss in the whole film." "It's fine," I replied, "I'm not that petty." As soon as I spoke, I felt foolish. The morning sickness was relentless. It was something I truly couldn't control. With so many people around, the overwhelming smells became too much for me. I tried putting on my mask, but it didn't help at all. As Mike and the actress leaned in for their kiss, panic set in. I didn't want to embarrass myself in front of everyone. I hurried to leave the set, but suddenly, I couldn't hold it back anymore. "Ugh!" I retched, and the sound echoed through the quiet set. Everyone turned to look at me. Mike immediately recognized me and strode over, concern etched on his face. "Sorry, the kiss scene is lovely, really. It's very beautiful, I'm not upset about it, ugh." I doubled over, covering my mouth and closing my eyes. All I could think about was the headline, "Mike's wife visits the set, only to throw up during his kissing scene." I managed to croak out, "It's morning sickness, everyone, please understand." Laughter erupted around me. By the time Mike reached me, I could smell his cologne wafting in. He leaned closer, and before he could even speak, I lost my composure again, ugh. This time, the laughter only grew louder. I was mortified and hastily tried to leave, but Mike followed me into his dressing room. It took a long time for my nausea to subside. I sipped water slowly, still feeling the embarrassment creeping into my toes. Mike had removed his jacket and sniffed his shirt, asking, "Can I get close to you now?" "You can just stand there and talk," I replied, still cringing at my earlier scene. "Are you really pregnant?" he asked. "Yes," I replied. He was silent for a moment, his expression shifting through various emotions before he finally said, "What should we do? The baby just saw me being affectionate with another actress. Will they think less of me?" "No, this is just the baby's self-defense mechanism," I joked. "After all, that scene isn't suitable for kids." He chuckled, sitting beside me and wrapping an arm around my shoulders. "Are you jealous?" I shook my head. He laughed again. "I bet no one believes that now." Thinking back on my earlier humiliation, I wished for a hole to swallow me whole. I can't explain myself now, can I? Should I apologize to the actress? The morning sickness really just can't be helped. Ha ha ha, he laughed heartily, kissing my forehead. "Don't worry, I'll explain it to everyone later." Later, I found out that Mike hadn't explained anything at all. Instead, he used my morning sickness as an excuse to avoid doing any more intimate scenes, saying he had a wife at home who got sick at the sight of romantic moments. I gave birth to a daughter and named her Olivia. Naturally, Mike fell into the trap of sharing adorable photos of our baby online. It was a gradual process, though. At first, he simply posted a picture of her tiny little feet on his social media, announcing her healthy arrival to his fans. To his surprise, the fans went wild over those little feet, crafting a multitude of compliments that made Mike beam with pride. This proud father quickly became infatuated with sharing his daughter's pictures on social media. Most of the photos he posted were of her chubby little hands and rosy feet. Regardless of what he shared, the fans responded enthusiastically, inadvertently fueling Mike's newfound obsession with showcasing our daughter. Every time he saw a comment, he would eagerly show me, saying, "Look, everyone thinks Olivia is adorable." Honestly, I just didn't feel like engaging with him about it. As Olivia grew older, Mike began sharing candid shots of her from behind. Our little lady was not only pretty, but also charming, which prompted fans to tease him in the comments, calling him father-in-law. This time, Mike was not having it. He would reply to every such comment with, "Who's your father-in-law?" He responded every single time. Though he wasn't typically one to reply to fan comments, he gradually got drawn into it. Fans learned quickly that they could elicit responses by calling him father-in-law, and before long, 8 out of 10 comments were doing just that. Frustrated, Mike stopped posting pictures of Olivia altogether for several months. It wasn't entirely intentional, he had been busy filming and hadn't seen our daughter. The only photos and videos he had were the ones I sent him. After a prolonged silence, the comment section began to change. Instead of father-in-law, fans started pleading for the baby photo blogger to make a comeback. Finally, the long-awaited post arrived. Mike, with an air of importance, shared a picture of Olivia's little backpack and wrote, "She's starting kindergarten, so we're keeping some privacy now. I won't be posting anymore." As I watched the triumphant smile spread across his face, I couldn't help but think that this man's childishness must be inherited from his daughter. End of bonus chapter.